Working out and training are two completely different things. And while one can be great for your health and a really good idea just to do in general, training can have profound effects on the way you look, the way you feel, and gives you a lot of control in who you want to be and who you want to develop into. But if you don't know the difference between those two, you might spend most of your life kind of spinning through the hamster wheel of exercise and not really ever reaching the goals that you want to get to. So in this video, I'm going to break down the difference between training and working out, or training and exercise. And I'm going to go through the program that we run at the Fort to give you a good idea of what a good training session should look like. A problem that I see a lot in clients considering joining a gym, or really clients that are just searching for a solution, is they don't really know the difference between exercise and training. Now, exercise or working out or lifting weights, running, walking, doing activities, playing basketball, rock climbing, whatever. These are fantastic ideas for anyone to improve their health, improve their life experience, an unmeasurable amount of benefits that come from movement and exercise and using your body and putting it towards activities that fulfill you. But there's a big difference between that and training specifically for an outcome over a period of time. And what I want to do first is kind of identify and break down the differences between the two. So I would say the first major difference between exercise or working out and training is that working out and exercising tend to be activities that you enjoy, the activities that fulfill you. For me personally, I really like bodybuilding. I really like going into the gym without a particular program in mind and just getting a good pump kind of on the areas of my body that feel full in my muscle. That feels really good to me. I like doing it. You don't have to convince me to want to do that. I enjoy that. For other people, it's going for a walk. For other people, it's, stand-up paddleboarding or kayaking or rock climbing or jujitsu or basketball or other sports. These are phenomenal, fantastic activities to use your body, feel your body, experience your body in a way that's going to get your blood pumping, that is going to deliver positive effects to your life experience. But training, in my perspective, training is something you do, something you sacrifice for to get a particular outcome that you wouldn't necessarily get on your own by yourself or otherwise. So a major component to training is, one, it's directed to you, ideally, and I think in best case scenarios, from a third person perspective. And that could be a training program, that could be a coach, that could be someone who has your best interests in mind, ideally someone who offers a deep level of understanding and experience of getting to that sort of training outcome, and can deliver you a strong sense of confidence that they're properly equipped to get you where you want to go. So the idea is that you bring in this third party coach or program or system that you believe in, that is going to sort of supersede your own mental expectations of maybe what you should do, and gives you a directive of what you should be doing that you probably wouldn't do otherwise in order to get to a particular goal. So in our case, we have a gym. It's called the Fort NYC. We operate 5 different gyms in New York City, and we run a training program and coach people individually through that program. Now, no one chooses that program. They often very much complain about the difficulty of that program. I complain about the difficulty of the program because it is very hard, and it's really not something that I would do if I was left up to my own devices and I was completely training myself. By doing that, they offload the decision-making power to an objective but invested third party that wants the best outcome for you and is willing to tell you what you need to do to get there, not what you want to do to get there. Because remember, doing what you want to do is that's where exercise lives, and working out and all great, but probably not going to get you there over time, which leads me to the next tenet of training, which is very different than workouts or exercise. Workouts tend to be isolated to one particular workout at a time and don't repeat over weeks and months and years with measurable objective data that allows you to build on the performance of each week and keep you accountable to improving your capability at those particular movements. So we tend to do things at the Fort in terms of weeks. So we will have week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. Typically, we break up our training program into a 3-day week split. So the whole training program over the week is broken up into 3 workouts. You'll do day 1 on either Monday or Tuesday, day 2 on either Wednesday or Thursday, day 3 on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Now, ideally, you give yourself about a day in between each training session, because the training itself, it should be so intense that you can't optimally recover from that training session in one day. Now, does that mean that you can never train back to back? Absolutely not. You absolutely can. But generally speaking, it's probably a good idea to give yourself a day break. Now, I should say our particular training program is not designed for bodybuilders. It's not designed for athletes. It is designed for everyday normal people that want to get stronger, that want to look better, that want to be healthier, and that want to have less pain or better movement health in their body. So we prioritize the training program to get those outcomes. If somebody comes to us and they want to become a better runner, now we have people and know people that can develop that, but the Fort's not the best place to get better specifically at running. It's a great way to get those other outcomes that might support your running, keep you injury free, improve your body composition, maybe build some useful muscle that you might not get while you're running. But it's not going to be the best training program to make you a better runner. Same with bodybuilding. If somebody comes into the gym and they say, my primary goal is to build bigger arms. That is my primary goal. It's what I want to do. We're not going to be the best solution for that. There's other training programs and other experts that do a way better job at that specific goal. We are designed for general population people that just want to move better, be stronger, look better, and be more healthy. Now, that brings me to this idea of training every day. Now, if you watch any of my other videos, I talk a lot about the dangers of training every day. And I need to use this time to sort of provide some context around that. When I say the dangers of training every day, if you're doing the type of intense training sessions that we're going to prescribe and coach in the Fort, doing that every day is almost inevitably going to lead to burnout or mental fatigue, potential overuse, and it's not going to be a very good long-term solution. However, I really value the idea of investing an hour into your body, into your movement, into your health, and keeping that routine, throughout your life. Like, I love the idea of dedicating an hour every day to your health and fitness. Now, if that means 3 days a week training sessions in the Fort, and then you have 1 day of running, you have 1 day of bodybuilding, you have 1 day of jujitsu, and you have 1 day where you take completely off, that's great. It could be 3 days of jujitsu, 3 days of training, 1 day off. That's great. I do generally find that giving yourself at least 1 day where you have no pressure to yourself or your subconscious around exercising, training hard, it's probably a good idea. Give yourself a day where if you do something for yourself, that's great. If you go for a walk, if you do something active, wonderful. But if you don't, that you're not beating yourself up over it. So at least giving yourself that 1 day of choice where there's less pressure. What I'd love to do is walk you through kind of what we do at the Fort. All right, so let's go to our team. We're going to go to Fortitude Strength Club, and we're going to pull up El Corazon. This is our 4-week training program that we're currently following in the Fort. We're in week 2 of a 4-week training program. And remember, we break up our workouts into 3-day splits. So the whole workout is split up over 3 separate workouts over the course of the week. So as it's written in here, we've got Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So let's go in here and preview what we're going to be doing. This is day 1, exercise 1. El corazón, which means the heart. The heart. The heart. Because it requires a lot of heart to get through this program. It's very hard. We've got 4 sections. There's a warm-up. There's a main strength. There's an auxiliary section. And then there's the thaw. The thaw stands for the test of heart and will. We like to end each session with a very short, fast sprint to make sure that you walk out of the gym feeling like you got your money's worth and that you had a very hard workout. This is and often is achieved much earlier in the session, but the thaw at the very end, 2 to 5 minutes of all-out effort kind of guarantees that you walk out of the gym feeling that way. So we always start with a very, very simple warm-up because we have 1 hour with you, and generally these sessions range between $50 and $70 per session. So we want to value your time as much as possible. And we want to get into the training as quickly as we can. However, if we just jump into the training, we might not get as much out of you as we could if we just do a little bit of warm up. So we try to keep the warm up under 5 minutes, under 5 minutes of actual work, ideally, with 1 or 2 minutes of explanation, just so you make sure you know what you're doing and that you're doing the right thing. I'm going to go back here so you can actually see these movements here as well. So we've got the warm up. We're calling this blood pumping. So we're going to do 3 different movements. Looks like we're going to be doing them for 1 minute each. Okay. The first is just an air squat. So you can see here, very simple. I'm doing the example here. Now I always elevate my heels when I do any sort of squatting. I have just found that when I elevate my heels, I do not aggravate my back. And when my back is aggravated, my life is not good. It's a very unhappy time for me. It's hard to get out of bed. It's hard for me to do anything. It's hard for me to pick up my kids or help carry groceries or do anything or put a smile on my face. So any sort of squat movement, I elevate my heels. Just how I do it. You can do it however works for you, but this is how I do it. And if you also have, back issues that you tend to experience an elevation from when you're doing the squat pattern, there's nothing wrong with elevating your heels. It's absolutely fine. So I elevate my heels. We got 1 minute of air squat. We're not doing anything crazy. We're just practicing that pattern. And then we're going to go into an alternating forward lunge. We're going to do 1 minute here. We're going to alternate right to left. We're going to do that for about 1 minute. So this might give you some idea that maybe we're going to go into some squatting or, some lower body work in our primary strength section next. Then we've got jump squat. So we're going to drop hip crease down a little below the knee, and we're going to drive up with enough force to propel ourselves up off the ground a little bit. This is a good idea just to get yourself extra active, just to get a little bit more speed, get the neurons firing, get those fast twitch muscle fibers woken up and going. Now, in the primary strength session, this is the steak in the steak dinner. But, we've got a side salad in there. We've got some potatoes. We maybe have some sauteed mushrooms and maybe some cream spinach. But this is the porterhouse for 2 that you eat by yourself. This is the monster, the primary strength section. So we generally are going to work through 4 different types of strength training programs. This particular month is what we like to call a performance month. So we try to set things up and set up the parameters of the workout so that you're kind of putting together the pieces of good range of motion, access, and ability to handle heavy weights, ability to do higher rep sets, and then being able to just kind of focus on performing all that at a really high level of capability. We've got a superset of 6 reps on the back squat. It's going to go directly into 6 reps on each side of a front foot elevated split squat, and then 18 reps of a heel elevated dumbbell goblet squat. We're going to do that superset of 3 different movements every 4 minutes, 3 times through. Okay, not counting the warm-ups. So now, to take this even further, to really kind of give you an idea of where the training lives, is we've prescribed a weight percentage. And the weight percentage is kind of based on what we call a training max. Now, training max is a derivative of your 1 rep max or your max effort or your PR or your PB. Basically, every 16 weeks, every 4 programs, we're going to test your best effort on the back squat, the bench press, the deadlift, the 2K row, the 1K ski, the mile, or if you're in some of our other gyms where we don't have treadmills, you're going to test your 50 cal fan bike or the acid bath, which is, it's a 500 meter ski, 500 meter row, 50 cal bike. That may or may not be true. I am not sure if it's actually 25 calories, 25 calories, 25 calories. We give our gyms a little bit of leniency as to like what that third big test is, but it's all a very useful standard that we can come back to every 16 weeks, get a very good idea of like whether you're making the progress in the gym that's measurable, objective, and consistent. And it's this feedback that one makes the training very rewarding. It's very fun to know that like, man, I put in 16 weeks of 3 times a week, and I have objectively gotten better at these movements or these conditioning performances. But anyway, a little bit off topic. Okay, so we've got a barbell back squat. It's at 70% of our working max. And your working max shouldn't be the same weight as your absolute max. Your absolute max is like your best performance. That's your powerlifting meet. That is like the heaviest weight that you have lifted up to this point. It might not look great when you do that. You might be successful on the lift, but it might not be like the best form that you want to base all of your other lifts off of. So what we generally guide people into is using a training max, which can be 90% of your best effort, or if you're a little bit newer to training, we could make it a little bit higher, 95%, maybe even 97% if you're brand new. But generally, we want to pull back about 10%, use 10% from your personal best. So if your absolute personal best back squat is 300 pounds, you're fairly experienced, we'd probably go 90% of that. We would use 270, and then we would prescribe 70% of 270, which, let me see, I don't want to give you the wrong number. So we'd put 189 in pounds on the bar, and you're going to do 6 reps after you've warmed up. So warm up is usually like 1 or 2 sets of a pretty light weight, a moderate weight, and then, your first working weight. So we're going to make sure you're warmed up. We're going to do 6 reps at 189 to give you an idea what this looks like. If you're not familiar with the barbell back squat, we're putting a bar on your back. These are the warm up sets. Here you can see kind of the second warm up. I'm moving a little bit slower, feeling the weight in my legs, making sure I'm getting good depth. Then we're going to go a little bit heavier. This is more like our working weight that we're working here. In this particular video, I think I work all the way up to a 1 rep max. So this might be good to see too. So this is like kind of the 1 RM test that you might be working toward to figure out like what your best 1 RM is. You can see the weight gets heavier and heavier, making sure you can do it well, confidently, with some composure, speed, and making sure that it looks the way that, you'd like to see it look. I think this is my top rep. Move through that pretty good. Not really my top rep. Hopefully this one, good depth. Drive up, a little bit of a grind, and you can see where the bar really slowed down. That's where I'm going to stop. That's what I'm going to call my 1 rep max. So we would go 30% off that, and that would be, or 10% off that would be my training max. And then we go 70% of my training max to get the weights that I would be using here. So we got 6 reps on the barbell. We're going to go right into 6 reps of a front foot elevated split squat, which is a great way to kind of practice the depth of the squat. So we're going to elevate the heels a little bit. You can see that my hips drop just below my knee. We found that like maybe using about 20% of what you did for the back squat on each arm is kind of the right weight here for the split squat. And then third, we're going to do a dumbbell elevated goblet squat for 18. And as you can see here, we are hammering the squat pattern. This is a great phase just to build some mental strength. It really brings together some meaningful weight, in the first movement here with the barbell back squat, but then it really ties together the volume and then the mental performance that it takes to stay in a particular pattern through the pain and the blood flow and the build up and make sure that you're mentally able to push through a very uncomfortable superset of 3 movements. 6 each side, 18, which is really like 6, then 12, and then 18 is week 1. We've got an auxiliary section here where we're going to do the same format. We've got like 8 reps on a 45-degree incline dumbbell bench press. We've got 15 reps on the push-up. So the bench press here, you're seeing me get the weights loaded. So now we're into like an upper body pushing motion. We don't have a barbell here because we've kind of like maxed out that really heavy neural load that requires from like using a barbell. We'll typically do 1 heavy barbell movement per session. And then typically we'll switch over into like some dumbbell movements, usually for like a balance out the session. So if we're primarily focused in our main strength in our lower body, we'll usually balance out to work some upper body in our auxiliary section. We've got 8 on the incline dumbbell bench press. We have got 15 wonderful push-ups here with great technique. We've got 15 bench dips, which I thought these would not be that tough. These were actually almost unbearable to push through for the 3 sets. Now, same deal. We've got 8, 15, 15, do a new round every 4 minutes. Do that for 3 rounds. Now for the thaw, the test of heart and will, very simple. This is what we did in our underground gym, the Upper East Side and Williamsburg. We did a 12-calorie ski and 12 burpees, 3 rounds for time. So you're just going 12 cal ski, 12 burpees, 12 cal ski, 12 burpees. What was your time? And then we write our times on the wall. We are accountable to them. And then, we follow through with the rest of the workouts that week. And then we come back the following week. So now, week 2, guess what? We do the same warm up because the warm up is just a warm up. It's just designed to get us ready for training. So what we're thinking is we know what we're doing. We have some familiarity, focus on moving well, doing a good job with these movements. Then back to the same 3 exercise superset, the back squat, the front foot elevated split squat, and the dumbbell goblet squat. But instead of going 6, 12, 18, we're going 8 each side. So 16, 20. The number of reps are going up. Our prescribed weight is going down. However, if you find that you feel that you could do the same weight as before, we very much encourage doing it, particularly if it looks good. Now, since you have that feedback from the previous week, you have a little bit more experience and you want to outperform what you did. So there's going to be an underlying feeling that wants to do the same weight that you did the week before, but now for a few more reps. Now you have that accountability of the week before, and it's going to be very uncomfortable. It is not going to feel good, but you're likely to do it because you're confronted with the previous week. And that's the secret sauce. We got the 45-degree incline bench press. This is the auxiliary. The push-ups and the bench dips again. Same deal. 10, 18, 18. Let's look at week 3. Week 3, we've got the same warm-up. We've got 5 reps on the barbell back squat. We've got 10 reps, or 5 each side, on the front foot elevated split squat. We've got 12 reps on the heel elevated dumbbell goblet squat. So now the volume is going down. The prescribed weight, we're taking up to 75. We are now giving you an opportunity to have some confidence now that you handled those higher rep weeks. The volume is coming down, and now hopefully you believe in yourself that you could do maybe more weight than you'd done in the previous weeks because you have less total number of reps. So this is where we want to see the confidence build. We want to give you a chance to go out and sort of outperform. All right, well, week 4 is a surprise because it seems that he hasn't made it publicly available. Although knowing Dan Trink, he knows exactly what he's doing. And if I'm going to bet, I think that in week 4, we're going to see the volume come down even more. You know why? Because the next week, we have test week where we're going to be lifting some heavy weights. And Dan is a smart guy. He's going to want to see people with some pretty heavy weights on their back leading into test week. So my guess is we're going to see something like 3 reps on the back squat. We'll see something like 10 reps, 5 each side, 4 each side. You know, so 8 to 10, maybe in the second, and then maybe like 10 to 12 in the third movement. So hopefully this gives you a sense of like what a good training program is. It builds week to week. It forces you to confront what you've done the previous weeks. And it puts you in a position now that you're informed of what you've done and what you could do, that you want to outperform yourself, even though you're doing something that you probably wouldn't do if you were designing your own program or working out by yourself. I'm not saying it's impossible, and I'm sure that people do. Actually, I know that people do, but it's very difficult. And if you have a system, if you've outsourced the decision making to somebody who obsesses over this, like us nerds, and you surround yourself with other people that are invested in the same process, you're much more likely to outperform what you would do if you were doing it by yourself. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see what a workout like this looks like in action, you're going to want to click this and you can watch me go through a Ford session. You can watch the struggle and the turmoil that I go through. You can see on my face that I do not want to be doing this. I do not want to be there, but I do it. And I get to the other side, and then I'm glad that I did it. So thank God for the Ford. Thank God that I've got my business partner, that I've got all the wonderful coaches and community members and staff. We have to commit to training like this. And God bless you for wanting to learn more about it, because there's nothing better in life than proving that you are more than maybe you thought you were yesterday. So I'll see you in that video. I'll see you there. Bye.